right, welcome to the B team, guys. This is your boy Kevin. If you're here for the conversations that you have with your mates around the fire about anything and everything, then you're in the right place. I'm going to introduce you to the crew. There's 10 of us, but there's only 4 of us here today. First up, he's a man most found on the comment section of the Canterbury Bulldogs posts. He's our very own farmer. That's PH farmer, as in pharmacist. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Shreyan Shah.
What's up, guys?
Welcome, Shaz. Next, he's the well-dressed, well-groomed legal eagle. He can be found every weekend in a corporate box in some part of Sydney. That's right. It's our very own Sarim Atik.
What's up, boys?
Nice background, bro.
Thanks, man.
And our last B team member, guys, the man with the voice for radio, regularly found working his backyard. He's a man with a commercial mind. His spreadsheets are well designed. It's Neil Maharaj.
How are we doing, guys? Hey.
Welcome, lads. First potty. 10 of us in the B team, and we're the first 4, so, we're setting a trend. All of us have been doing some pretty cool things. Sarim, you've got a F1 rig in your background. You're at the F1 in Melbourne a few weekends ago. How was that, bro?
Oh, mate, best experience of my life. Like, it was... I went back in 2020 at one point, and, I got on the plane thinking it was going to happen. Got off the plane, and the F1 was cancelled, so I was pretty bummed about it. But to go back 2 years later... my first F1 experience, and a sellout crowd with over 430,000 people over the weekend.
Unreal.
Absolutely amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. Like, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Next year as well.
Did you watch the Miami Grand Prix as well? What did you make of it?
Look, it was good. A good new track, but a little bit cringy with all the American stuff that was going on. That's what I thought, with the NFL helmets on the podium. But look, good track. American vibes and stuff like that may not be a good fit for the F1 there, but having said that, it's always welcome. We're always good to welcome another track, and with Vegas coming in next year as well.
Yeah.
So that's 3 tracks in America now. So should be good.
Americans do it extra. Yeah, you gonna do Vegas? B team trip to Vegas.
Might be my bucks. We'll see how we go.
I'll hold you to it.
You heard it here first.
Speaking of the Americans, Shaz, NBA playoffs, bro.
Yeah, man, it's all happening.
I don't follow NBA, but what's happening? Who's in there?
It's getting pretty hectic, man. I don't know if you've heard about the Philadelphia 76ers. They just recruited James Harden and got rid of what's his name, Ben Cummins, who's the Aussie.
Yeah.
And he's just been playing up, and they traded him off. And James Harden, he's coming off like a really great career. And as soon as he's come to Philadelphia, and he's just dropped his gun, and they've just lost the playoffs and to Miami, and it's just been a real big disappointment for Philadelphia. But everyone else, man, it's really getting pretty heated with Celtics and Bucks. Like, they're 3-all apiece into the playoffs, and Suns and Mavericks also 3 apiece. So it's getting pretty tight, but. Yeah, pretty disappointing with Philadelphia at the moment with James Harden. And, it should be pretty interesting with all the stuff that's happening around him for next season.
If you had to put our B Team Enterprise money into one team to take it out, who's it going to be?
Oh, dude, I couldn't tell you, to be honest. But last year, Phoenix Suns got the premiership. So I'll probably say, the Suns will probably take it out. But it's pretty tight, to be honest. So I'd flip a coin. It's honestly that hard.
Yeah,
it's a tight game, this one.
I had up on my multi on was it Bucks? So now they've actually gone up to like $3 something, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then so I've hedged my other multi. So I'm netting 0, but see what happens with it.
Yeah. Nah, NBA at the moment, it's good to see though, right? Like, you don't want someone to just it's like Panthers and Storms at the moment, where it's just the top 2 and that's it. Whereas the NBA, you've at least got 6 teams that have got potential to take it out. So it's not a sort of a straightforward pick.
That's right. Bit of a speculative market. Speaking of speculative markets, what about these markets?
Oh, mate. Took a beating.
Neil, have you lost the house, bro?
Oh, no. Definitely lost the front door and lounge room.
Jeez.
Yeah, well, Terra. I got onto Terra at $20. Rode the wave to about $1.40, and I saw them plummeting. I was like, holy shit! I'm like, all right, I'll keep on to it. And then they went back down to zero, and then I put down $20, and they drove up to another 500%. I'm like, oh, here we go. Try to recoup that back, but then we just around. So you know what? I'm just going to ride the long term wave.
Yeah.
I did change my strategy a good few months ago just to kind of go in the top coins. So went away from the shitty ones, even though a lot of them got wiped out. So
yeah,
I am still looking to hold on and see what happens.
Yeah.
I've got time on my side, so I'll play that way.
They lost to like 20 billion market cap or something, hey?
Huge,
Terra?
mate. Oh, bloody hell. I should have. This is one guy I follow, this guy called Pablo He-Man, and he shorted it. I should have just done something similar. I should have actually been a bit more better at it, just kind of done a stop loss and hedged my bets.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, okay, cool, this one will be a long-term kind of thing, hold on to that. But lucky I was diversifying a little bit more into Ethereum, a few other stable ones too. But it's becoming a little bit unpredictable right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Not as clear cut as the Bulldogs being on the bottom of the ladder, but
man. that is clear cut for sure. Hey, Trent Barrett might be getting kicked out tomorrow.
That's. Are you happy about that? Or sad?
I'm pretty happy about
who would you
that.
get?
I don't know. Just someone that can sort of see the players and play them based on form rather than who they like. You know, that's how it should be for a professional sport, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy times. What about the property side of things, with the interest rate increases as well?
Yeah,
I reckon I saw somewhere, I think AFR, they said about 1.5 trillion of property value is going to get wiped out the next year or so.
I disagree and agree to a certain point. I still think there'll be certain pockets that are still going to see growth. Obviously not the growth that we saw in the last 10 years. I think that was a once in a lifetime for us in terms of that opportunity. You know, when people buying something, making 500K in a year or something like that, I think that time is gone. But I think there's certain pockets where you still can buy and still get your money and still get protected assets. Like, there's growth triangles where infrastructure is getting built. So, you're still going to have shortage of people wanting homes and the whole demand is still going to be there. I think you're going to have a lot less people in terms of competition, but I still think there'll be areas, if you're smart enough and still do your research, you'll still be making good investment choices or even, banking in for your long-term kind of forever home as well. So I still think there's opportunity in the market. You just got to be smart where it is. And I think it's those people with a long-term view in terms of, kind of servicing you or facilitating your loans and not trying to jump in and make quick bucks. Yeah, but and certain areas definitely highly inflated. People are going to jump out sometimes, but there'll be definitely triangles and pockets where growth is going to still occur.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
My view.
It's going to Sydney prices aren't going to drop. They're always the demand in Sydney is too high now, and the areas where you will see the most damage, in my opinion, are going to be those areas where there's been overdevelopment. There's an abundance of properties available, or developers have come in and built a number of properties, and that's happening in all these new little areas that have popped up around. If you look at Sydney in particular, around Western Sydney, like you've got Marsden Park, you've got Box Hill, you've got all these little areas, but then they're also building apartments in these areas to try and get the growth there. And I think that's where most of the downfall is going to come from. All your exclusive estates, like you've got your Potts Point and all that, that's always going to remain high now. The demand is just so high for those areas, and it's supply and demand, isn't it, really? So you look at the supply. If there's an abundance of properties available, the property prices have to come down eventually. But you've got areas where you've got 12 blocks of land on the waterfront or anywhere nice, like an exclusive estate. The demand's always going to stay there.
Yeah.
One of the best advice that I ever received, and going back to what Neil was saying, was you don't make your money when you sell, but you actually make your money when you buy. So buying smart in this new market is probably the way to go now. So you've got to look at where you're buying, whether or not there is going to be any growth there. And if there's going to be growth there, that's where you're going to make your money as an investment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Shazza, your old hood, bro, Brizzy.
Yeah.
That freaking property market was booming. Probably still is booming. I haven't really checked out.
Yeah, it still is booming, man, to be honest, because I've got a property up at Brisbane, and I was just looking the other day, and within the last 12 months, I think there's been a 26.1% growth.
Far out.
Just within the last 12 months. within that area itself. So I think, it's still sort of that sort of untapped potential that I see in Southeast Queensland. I wouldn't say Queensland as a whole, but definitely Southeast Queensland. So that's incorporating, the between Brisbane to Surfers area and between Surfers to Sunny Coast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential there because, it's kind of like commuting from Penrith to Sydney, and that's 80 kilometres, whereas 80 kilometres from Brisbane, you're talking almost central Queensland, to be honest. So
yeah,
you can get a property within 20, 30 Ks and it still cost you 500-600 grand.
Yeah.
And you'd be laughing if you said, hey, I want to get a house at 600 grand within 20, 30 Ks in Sydney. It's just it's not possible.
Yeah. Crazy.
I think also just on that point too, in terms of the pricing, like if you think about it, building new houses now as well, the price of build has gone higher. So, the cost to actually get a house up and running, get one house from, ground to roof, it's costing a lot more. So why would the prices actually get even cheaper? All kind of things that are already there. Because if you want to build it, it'll cost you a lot more. Yeah. So I think there's certain elements like that are going to look, I think the prices are now kind of staying where it is. I don't think it's going to drop like, here we go, now we got 300K savings or 300K cheaper than what it was. Yeah. Certain areas will, don't get me wrong, but I think other areas of demand or like the prestige areas, they're going to hold their value because to be in there, it's going to cost you a lot more.
Yeah, I totally agree. With prestige areas, it's a no-brainer. It's just going to be status quo. But I do sort of have concerns, and again, it's speculative because especially around the people that have, had LMIs, like, paid 5% deposit for a, considerable amount, like, say $1 million house, and now the interest rate's going up and it's going to keep going up and up by the end of the year. My speculation is that there will be maybe 5-10% of the population that might feel the crunch real hard, and they might sort of have to resort to selling, and that sell won't be to the price that they'll want to receive. They'll probably get undercut, and I do see a scope in that area where the values of the houses might drop as a result because they're forced to sell because they just can't keep up with the repayments. Yeah. And that's, again, just my speculation due to the raising interest rates.
Oh, for sure. They reckon household debt to income ratio currently is like over 180%, like across Australia. That's, any interest rate changes actually affects people's back pockets and livability. So
100%. And I think this is going to contribute to the wealth gap getting bigger because the people that are going to come and buy it are the ones who are already, are loaded up on the cash.
Correct.
And they're going to get it from
they're just waiting for this opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's going to be those, unfortunately, the vulnerable part of our, communities, there's young families that have actually went and bought in, tried to get into the forever home, saw that 1.9% interest rate, saw the repayments looking like, quickly affordable, but, that's 3 years into the future, but you lock into a 30-year loan.
Years, that's right.
Yeah.
After 3 years, from 1.9 to 3 point something, and then you've probably got a second kid on the way for most of those guys, they're going to feel the pinch and they'll be desperate to sell. So you'll see desperation sales, but people jumping in, either creating more of their portfolios.
That's right.
But, they have to sell. It's not that the house is not worth that much.
Yeah.
Having got competition to drive
That's right. And you need to have that buffer because, 10, 15, 20 years ago, the interest rates were 10% or close to 10%.
15, 16.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you need to sort of have that amount of buffer to be able to sort of repay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're in Hurt Street.
So in terms of solving this, moving on to our next kind of topic, there's all these politicians now coming out with the election around the corner claiming that they can solve this. Have you seen any good ideas out there? Because to be honest, every time I watch the TV, I just see a big screaming match between everyone, which is kind of funny, to be honest. It's I either watch Jersey Shore or I watch the political shows to see everyone yelling at each other, which is great. But any solutions that you've seen that you guys like? No.
I think whoever gets in is going to have a shit show regardless.
Yeah.
I think
hospital pass, eh?
Yeah, it is. Anyone's going to have a shit show going into it. And the thing is, it's beyond anyone's control. The interest rates going up and the situation. It's how they kind of respond to it, right? And I think the whole cost of living pressures and everything is going to be what's going to be the main catalyst for change. But interest rates are like, you have to. That's economics. It has to go up to try and control the the wealth gap and people getting, richer in terms of the top one, the guys struggling at the bottom. But no one's really coming out there and saying what the exact plan is. Everyone's saying, I've got a plan. It's your typical politics, right? That's the kind of stuff.
Right.
I don't think you can really have a plan, though, for something like this. They've never been do anything like we've just went through over the last 3 years. So any politician coming into this job is going to have the next 3 or 4 years for Australia is going to be a struggle regardless.
100%.
Yeah.
We're already one of the countries that are the most highest cost of living. Like, it is so expensive to live in Sydney, forgetting property prices, but just your standard expense, your groceries and whatnot, and your petrol prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It is just that expensive to live in Sydney.
Yeah, even tolls, man. Like, in Brisbane, I never used a toll road, and now I have to use toll roads to get to work. That's an extra $6,000 a year just because.
Jeez,
out of nothing,
That's nuts. That's actually just on that. In terms of the political landscape coming up over this weekend, there's obviously the interest rate stuff that they can't resolve. We are a very diverse group. Like, we're all passionate about different things. We all believe different things, but we all still, have that love for each other, which is cool. But what's the one big thing, without kind of communicating to the public about who you're going to vote for, because it's taboo in Australian culture? What's the one big thing that you're passionate about this election? I'll go first. I think for me, right, listening to everyone, you obviously want to have a leader that can take you through the unknown over the next couple of years. So it's not as much about the policies, it's who you can trust. But for me, more particularly, it's the whole freedom of speech, freedom of ideas thing, particularly on the internet, people being able to share ideas, opinions without being censored or, clipped in the wings. So that's something that I've really been looking at. The danger is most of the parties that I look at that really align with that are very far right and dangerous. And it's like, at what point do I say no to immigration just because I want to say what I want?
Next podcast with you back
coming to you live from the motherland.
As long as you stand by what you believe, Kev.
Next thing you know, you got Kevin calling us. So
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, that's something that I'm pretty passionate about. Keen to hear what you guys think, particularly as we're all at similar but different stages of life.
I do resonate with what Kevin was saying. Same with me. Like, I think as an Australian country, like, we're pretty fortunate in the sense that we don't have really big polarizing political parties like, in America. If you're a Democrat, you're a Democrat, and Republican, you're a Republican, and you can really tell. Whereas in Australia, whilst Liberals and Labors do have a conceptual difference on a surface value, like, you can't really tell them apart. And like what Kevin was saying, it's all about leadership, who you can trust, if they've got the conviction to follow through with what they're going to say and how they're going to do it, and the public perception as well, because that's quite important. They might have the right policy, but if the perception's not there, then they're going to lose faith in the people. So that's what I'm looking for, is a strong leader. And unfortunately, it's a 50-50 at the moment with Albanese and Morrison, because it's just, you could flip a coin again, and I suspect that it will be a hung parliament, just because I just don't see it going either ways.
Yeah. I see so many people voting for the independents now, and they're not looking at the Liberals now, because they're just saying we'll vote for the independents. It's I've never seen it happen before in any election where it's been that close between the polls. Normally by now who's going to take it, but in this sense it's just so hard to pick, because either leader, like you said, like, you are looking at the person now rather than what their political values or their party's values are, because they are starting to align, whether it's Labor or Liberal. They're both sort of falling on the same page. Yeah. But trying to do it differently.
Exactly right, man. And that's the thing, like, voting for independence. So if it goes to a hung parliament, independents will always steer towards the incumbent government, because there was never a clear outright winner. So they will never sort of lean towards the newer party, because if that was the case, then why didn't they win? So, and that's the thing, I suspect that will be the case, is the independents would sort of steer towards the incumbent government and just sort of work on a plan to move on, rather than, whoever new is going to come into play.
Yeah.
Same thing for me too. I'm all about whichever party can be more transparent, because that's obviously going to lead to trust. Even if it's going to be a shit show, just be open and honest, it's going to be a shit show, so people are prepared for it. And I'm not buying into any social politics. Like, I don't really care for that. Like, for me, it's all mainly about economic policies for me. How's that going to impact? End of the day, there's no social without any economical benefit. So that's my main thing around it. Everyone can sit there and go, I've got a plan to do this. So we'll bring this many jobs or whatever it is. But if you've got to be real about it, we're going to have a lot of pressures. We're going to be tough for the next 2 or 3 years. People go, you know what? Let's get ready for it. And I think you get someone to lead you from there. That's my view around it. I'm after stability. Even if it's downwards, it's still stability. That's my view, rather than going, oh, well, broken promises.
Yeah. I don't think anyone really has a proper answer of how to get stability out of it. Like, you look at what happened after the Great Depression, when the financial crisis, the global financial crisis happened, the GFC, and Kevin Rudd came in with his stimulus package thinking that, hey, look, this is going to fix everything. We'll just stimulate the economy by giving everyone money. And next thing you know, his leadership failed and he was getting voted out by his own party. Yeah. So, and that's happened over and over and over again now, ever since then. So it's an odd one because you don't really know them that well. We know what we're going to get with ScoMo because that's what we've had for the last couple of years. But then it hasn't been that great either. So do we go with Albanese? But we don't know what we're in for with that. So
yeah, it's going to be potentially undecided. But what is decided is that Liverpool are the FA Cup champions.
I can't believe it took you this long. I can't believe it took you this long to bring it up.
So for you guys that watch the EPL or the English scene, Liverpool versus City, guys. We're lucky enough to watch 2 great teams battle it out for the last couple of years. I lived through the Man United era. I'm glad that I didn't have pay TV, so I didn't have to say that I watched the games. But what do you guys think in terms of, is this the greatest ever 2 teams in the last, say, 20 years to fight for the title?
Without a doubt.
Consistently, yeah.
Yeah, well, in the 2000s.
You put the United in there from back in the Ferguson days. Yeah, they were great. But if you just look at the last 5 years, because over 20 years, I still say United any day. But if you look at the last 5 years, let's say, Liverpool, there was a time when Liverpool fans, you'll speak to Liverpool fans, and all they cared about was let's just beat United. That's my season done. It's sort of like when Pakistan plays India, whenever they win the World Cup. But as long as we beat India, we're happy. So, but it's the same kind of thing. Like Liverpool, all my mates used to be Liverpool. See how I said used to, Kevin? But they cared about was beating United.
Yeah.
It's come to a point now where you guys were talking about winning the quad.
Yeah.
And you're now getting sad. Like there's obviously hurt there that the quad's not going to happen, but potentially the team's come so far. Jurgen Klopp has brought this team so far, and he put it on that 5-year plan, which no other team has been able to do. Pep's a great coach, and he's proven that no matter where he's gone.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. And the amount of money with City, you would blame him quite a bit if they weren't succeeding in what they were doing. They are just that good. But Liverpool was the standout team just because of the 5-year plan that's been put in place. And they're going to dominate for the next 5 years or so, just because of what's been put in place and the foundations that have been put in place for that team. And I think if I take it back to United for a moment, that's where they're struggling, because they're just expecting success after success after success.
Straight
away.
That's
what they're used to. And they haven't given any coach a chance yet for them to say, implement your plan. Every time a coach gets settled in, the coach changes, unfortunately. So, and with, Ajax's coach coming in next year, that's going to be interesting, because the youth program there and the development there to be applied in United, but they need to start looking at a bigger picture like Liverpool has. And but their football is just so attractive to watch at the moment. It is just that good. And that's coming from a United fan. And it is just attractive football to watch. It's just that good. So, no, I would say...
Sounds like you're changing teams.
Yeah, I'm not changing teams, but I know that Kevin has all the control over this podcast, and he'll kick me if I say a bit too much.
Well, talking about domination, I'm not saying Liverpool is dominating, but they're gone. But Neil, you were mentioning this Fijian Drua women's team. They had an unbeaten season, was it? And then they won in the final?
Yeah, first season in, undefeated, and won the whole thing. So it was awesome to kind of see coming through. I think it's been really a long time coming for Pacific contribution towards the next level in terms of rugby union kind of championship. So this was the Fijian women's team Drua coming in and playing into the women's comp against the Waratahs, Reds, and all that kind of stuff too. So first season in, undefeated, and won the comp, which is an amazing thing to see. And then right now you got the men's kind of playing through as well. So I think it's going to be a great program for the Pacifics to actually come through and start showing their talent and kind of increasing their own capabilities at that level. So they've proven it before. Even the Fijian men's team, when they first joined the NRC comp, which is one level below the rugby, Super Rugby, first season in, they were minor premiers. Next season in, they won it as well. So it shows there's a lot of potential, and the women came in and did it in the first season. So brilliant. I'm looking forward to the next few years of what Pacific Rugby is going to look like. So
yeah. And it's so good to sort of, even just to the men's team, both the Druas and the Pacifica Moana, seeing them in the Super Rugby, just sort of pollinating with, the Australian rugby and the New Zealand rugby, and then sort of sharing talent and learning of each other, which is good for the international rugby in general. It's good to see. And they're doing well in the men's team as well. The Fijian Druas, they're in the middle of the table somewhere at the moment, so it's pretty good.
100%. Because a lot of those Pacific players, you end up losing the top cream players to the French top 14.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys are actually your local players. So for them to be actually competing against, all these, All Blacks or Wallabies players and everything like that, to be competing in that's going to be growing their talent base so much. And, the ability then for the top 14 to actually be taking away some of these players is going to go away. And then once you get to the World Cups, you're going to have a bigger pool of players that Fiji can call upon to come in and contribute to the national team. So, look out 2027 World Cup in Sydney. So we'll be in the finals for sure.
Yeah.
So you reckon Fiji will beat Wallabies during that World Cup?
100%, mate. Last time we were robbed from a wrong red card. We were leading for the first 60 minutes. So next year it's kind of, it's our year again.
Mate, the way it's going, it'll be Fiji versus Fiji if they play the Wallabies. they'll be tackling their mates.
I'm sure Symonds can hook us out of the corporate seats.
Yeah, that's right.
Come on, Symonds. You got 5 years to work it out, mate.
That's right.
I'm on it.
All right, lads, just to wrap up, sad news today about Andrew Symons, but just a tough year, eh? Shane Warne, Andrew Symons. I think what's harder is these are the guys we watched kind of growing up. We idolized, we imitated them on the fields. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was shocked this morning. I had to do a double take when I, just woke up, checked my phone, popped up. I was like, what the, no. And I had to read it again, and it was a complete shock. Hey, just couldn't believe it. Just especially after losing Shane Warne so soon. So it's just two greats within a year, or three actually. Lost Marsh as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's just unreal. Just can't believe it.
And it's just been overnight. Like you'd wake up and you find the news. Same thing with Shane Warne.
Yeah.
I was devastated when I read about Shane Warne.
100%.
And not to say not devastated about Andrew Symons, but having said that, like it was just waking. I did the same thing. Shaz, I did a double take going, you've got to be kidding me. We just you just stopped hearing about Shane Warne.
Yeah.
And now this all of a sudden. So very sad news.
Some big personalities. And I was just saying this to my brother-in-law, like we're probably getting to that age now in the next few years or so. All the players that we, grew up watching, they're getting to that age where something can actually happen. And you go, shit, we're going to start losing a lot of iconic players that we grew up, like you said, imitating or taking, inspiration from. So it's like, damn, man, some of these big names or big personalities are getting, kind of taken away. So it's one of those things, right?
Yeah, and he was a part of that era that made cricket fun.
Yeah.
Because, like back in the 80s, 90s, it was all about style and class. And then, in the early 2000s, late 2000s, it was all about just, tonking the shit out of the ball. And that's all made it fun, the middle order, watching him and Michael Bevins just destroy all the sort of middle orders.
Yeah.
And that's what made it fun. That's what I enjoyed watching growing up. So it was definitely my idol.
Yeah. Personalities of the game as well. All right, guys. Good chat, lads, for episode 1. It's going to be hard to replace you guys with anyone else, but I think the bigger the better in terms of the crew. So
sounds like you want to replace us, though. Sounds like you made up your mind.
Nah, thanks, lads. Take care. Love ya.
Thanks for having us.
See you guys.
And we'll jump on next
Look
episode.
forward to seeing you guys all soon in the next presentation. And
Presentation night this week. Cricket trip. We'll do a podcast from cricket trip at 2 a.m.
Mate,
I'm
dangerous.
sure we'll have less participants than we do right now. Spirit will definitely be out of that one.
All of us minus Sarub, yeah.
Can we do it first thing in the morning for breakfast?
Or when you're waking up from the night before.
All right, catch you guys.
All right, see you guys.